For more than 150 years, the plaster casts of Pompeii have stood as some of archaeology's most powerful symbols of human tragedy. Visitors have looked at the frozen figures and imagined heartbreaking final moments, a mother shielding her child, sisters embracing each other, and families huddled together as Mount Vesuvius destroyed their city. These emotional stories became accepted as historical fact, appearing in books, museums, and documentaries around the world. But modern science has revealed that many of these interpretations were wrong. Thanks to advanced DNA analysis and CT scanning, researchers are discovering that Pompeii's victims were far more complex than anyone ever imagined. In 79 CE, Mount Vesuvius unleashed one of history's most catastrophic volcanic eruptions. After hours of pumice and ash rained down on Pompeii, the volcano entered its deadliest phase. Pyroclastic flows, fast-moving waves of superheated gas, ash, and volcanic debris, raced across the city at incredible speeds. Temperatures may have exceeded 500 degrees Celsius, killing thousands within moments. Buildings collapsed beneath layers of volcanic material while streets disappeared under meters of ash. By the end of the eruption, the thriving Roman city had been completely buried, preserving an extraordinary snapshot of everyday life frozen in time. The victims of Pompeii were not fossilized. Instead, the volcanic ash created a unique environment that preserved the exact shape of their bodies. As soft tissue gradually decomposed, it left hollow cavities inside the hardened ash. These empty spaces perfectly captured every detail of the victims' final positions, from curled fingers and folded arms to tilted heads and bent knees. Hidden within many of these cavities were tiny fragments of bone, protected for nearly 2,000 years inside the volcanic deposits. In 1863, Italian archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli made a remarkable discovery. He realized these hollow spaces had once contained human bodies and developed an innovative technique to preserve them. By carefully pouring liquid plaster into the cavities and allowing it to harden, Fiorelli created lifelike casts that revealed the victims exactly as they had died. His method transformed archaeology, allowing future generations to witness the final moments of Pompeii's residents with extraordinary realism. The casts became some of the world's most famous archaeological treasures and inspired countless emotional interpretations about the people they represented. For decades, archaeologists relied largely on appearance when interpreting the casts. An adult leaning over a smaller figure was assumed to be a protective mother. Two people embracing became sisters or a mother and daughter. For individuals discovered together beneath a staircase were described as a family sheltering from disaster. These stories felt natural because they reflected familiar human emotions. Yet none of these conclusions had ever been tested scientifically. That changed when researchers brought modern medical imaging into Pompeii. High-resolution CT scanners examined dozens of the plaster casts without damaging them. Instead of seeing only plaster, scientists discovered preserved skeletal remains hidden inside. Vertebrae, ribs, skull fragments, teeth, and finger bones were still sealed within the casts exactly where Fiorelli had left them more than 160 years earlier. These discoveries made it possible to recover ancient DNA from victims once thought to have lost all biological evidence. Researchers carefully selected the best-preserved casts for sampling. Tiny cores were drilled through existing cracks to avoid damaging the plaster. Every sample was collected under strict contamination controls before being transferred to specialized ancient DNA laboratories. Recovering genetic material from remains exposed to volcanic heat for nearly 2,000 years was extremely difficult, yet several individuals yielded genomes detailed enough to reveal biological sex, ancestry, and family relationships. One of the biggest surprises involved the famous cast from the House of the Golden Bracelet. Historians had long believed the adult was a mother protecting her child during the eruption. The elegant gold bracelet seemed to support that conclusion. DNA analysis proved otherwise. The adult carried XY chromosomes, identifying the individual as biologically male. Even more surprising, the nearby child shared no close biological relationship with him. What had become one of Pompeii's most touching stories turned out to be a modern assumption rather than historical fact. Researchers also realized that wealthy Roman men commonly wore gold jewelry, making the bracelet an unreliable clue to gender. Another famous pair had been described for generations as two sisters or a mother embracing her daughter. Their final pose appeared deeply emotional and seemed to represent family devotion during the catastrophe. DNA testing completely changed that interpretation. One individual was biologically male, the other female, and neither shared close genetic ties. Their embrace may not represent family at all. Instead, two unrelated strangers could simply have found themselves together as buildings collapsed and the deadly ash engulfed the city. The same pattern appeared elsewhere. For individuals discovered beneath a staircase had long been presented as a nuclear family seeking shelter together. DNA evidence showed no close biological relationship among them. Rather than parents and children, they were unrelated individuals united only by the disaster itself. These findings demonstrate how easily modern observers projected familiar family structures onto ancient remains without scientific evidence. The DNA also transformed historians' understanding of Pompeii itself. Genetic comparisons revealed that many victims possessed ancestry linked to the Eastern Mediterranean, including Greece, the Levant, Egypt, and North Africa. Rather than representing an isolated Italian town, Pompeii was a thriving multicultural city connected by the vast trade networks of the Roman Empire. Archaeological discoveries support this conclusion. Imported goods, luxury objects, and glass traced to workshops in Alexandria reveal a city filled with merchants, craftsmen, sailors, migrants, and travelers from across the Mediterranean world. These discoveries remind us that archaeology is constantly evolving. Earlier generations interpreted Pompeii through the lens of modern expectations about gender, family, and society. Scientific evidence now reveals a more complicated reality. The plaster casts remain powerful symbols of human loss, but the people they represent were individuals with diverse origins, unique identities, and lives shaped by one of history's greatest empires. Research at Pompeii continues today under strict conservation standards that balance scientific investigation with respect for the dead. New excavations continue to uncover remarkable buildings, artworks, and everyday objects that reshape our understanding of the ancient city. Every discovery adds another piece to the story while raising new questions for future research. For 150 years, the plaster casts seemed to tell simple stories of family, love, and sacrifice. Modern DNA has revealed something even more remarkable. Pompeii's victims were strangers, migrants, neighbors, workers, merchants, and travelers whose lives reflected the extraordinary diversity of the Roman world. Their final moments remain heartbreaking, but their true identities are proving far richer and more fascinating than the story's history once imagined.